It's Listen In with KNN, the sports sound of the district. Today, we welcome a former standout from the football world. He played his college ball at the University of Michigan before he was drafted by the New York Giants in the 1991 NFL Draft. He was named the team's Offensive Player of the Year in 1992 and later joined the Los Angeles Raiders in 1994. He retired from the sport in 1995 and has kept himself very busy in entertainment and other activities. He owns a media production company and serves as a head coach for the Beverly Hills High School football team.
Taylor gives the bunch up the middle, breaks the tackle, down to the 15, the 10, the 5, carries two tacklers into the end zone. Michigan locks it up.
Pearl, Pearl, Pearl. It's been a long time.
Not long enough. Chance, this is Ramon, an ex whatever.
So, what's up, Pearl? Hanging out with the white boys now? What's wrong? Brother's too much for you?
It's Jarrod Bunch, and he joins this live stream broadcast of Listen In with KNN right now. Here's your host, Kelsey Nicole Nelson. It's Listen In with KNN, the sports sound of the district. We bring you the biggest guests, great analysis, and the hottest sports stories in the nation's capital and beyond. And we bring it to you live. Welcome to this live stream broadcast of Listen In with KNN. Here's your host, Kelsey Nicole Nelson.
All right. Hello, everyone, and happy New Year. Welcome to our first edition of Listen In with KNN, presented by Fox Sports Radio, 96.9 FM and 1340 AM, right here live. I am so excited to be with you all. Thank you all for tuning in with me. The show is going on 4 years strong. We could not do it without you all. And joining me today, I have a very special guest. But before I get to that special guest, we have a big game tonight that, yes, we're going to talk about. So I hope this can serve as the preview show before you get into the National Football Championship. But also, I want to give a special congratulations to our last guest on this show, Marvin Jones. He just got inducted into the College Football Hall of Fame. Special congrats to Marvin Jones. Love to see success of the guest here. But again, just a phenomenal football player. We know what he did in college at Florida State and just very, very proud of him. So Marvin, you know I had to shout you out on the show. I know you told me the news earlier. You gave me a little sneak peek, but wanted to make sure that you saw we congratulate you. So please congratulate Marvin. Congrats to honestly the whole 2022 College Football Hall of Fame class. What you do in college, it speaks so many volumes. Lots of great names on that list. So definitely check that out. All right, now let's get to the show I have today for you all. I have a special action-packed show. I don't want to miss any moment because joining me today, I have none other than Jarrod Bunch. He is a former NFL running back turned actor, business owner, and football coach. Basically a man that has no limits because he can do it all. He's going to join me on the show. We're going to talk about his life, football, and so much more. And Washington football fans, be nice. I know he played for the New York Football Giants, but right now we're all friends on this show. Jarrod, welcome to the show. How are you today?
I am good. How about yourself?
I'm fantastic. Look, I got you on. It's a good Monday. We usually do Thursday shows, but I'm excited to have you. A pleasure to meet you. And I like to start, Jarrod, with a wellness check. Are you feeling okay? Are you doing okay? Is your family healthy? How's everything on your end?
Oh, we are blessed. My wife and I are, we are COVID free. We had a little bit of the flu over Christmas break. But but we're
But
feeling
everybody's
good.
better? Okay.
Yes. Yeah. Everyone's
Good.
better. And we never came down with the COVID. So in California here, it was a big, it was big all over, but
Yeah.
we had
And it was more intense there
yeah, yeah, yeah. So
because you're
we were
living in
sitting
Beverly
there.
Hills, right, Jared?
Yes, live in Beverly Hills, and they shut everything down. They shut it down. I mean,
Oh my gosh.
uh, stay home. But it's just my wife and I. So for the whole year, it pretty was much wasn't any different.
Yeah, right. It's just us two, just the two of us.
Yeah.
Look, you made me sing already on this show, but I'm glad you guys are safe and healthy. Definitely love California, but like you said, I know the lockdown, but I know it's also been real for so many. I mean, COVID has really impacted and changed our lives, Jared. I know many of us were on the go. You probably were used to being on the go, and all of a sudden now we've all kind of had to slow down, reflect, and as much as we can, stay safe. Because unfortunately, right now we're going back through this pandemic rise in COVID cases, and now things again we're beginning to see shut down. So, I mean, what kept you all busy, Jared, as you had to be kind of kept in the house together longer? We know some couples, that was good. They got more quality time together. Maybe some couples began to quarrel just a little bit more, Jared, as they were spending time together. But what kept you guys together?
Well, we like I said, pretty much we do. That's what we're always together. So and we both work out of have home offices. So I actually did a lot of cleaning, and I mean deep cleaning, and she did too, rearranging things. But besides that, we got a lot of things done that ordinarily we would have put off, wouldn't have been able to focus the time commitment and using all of that, just to stay and working on being committed to working just in the office and doing something for 2 weeks or 3 weeks, and that's what was actually happened with me. I did some projects that I never thought I would pick back up, but they have been really good for me, and so it got me to focus a little bit on things that I had forgotten about.
Yeah, like you said, you're able to put that focus now on things that you had put off, but now you had more time to put them back on. Can you share some of these projects that you were working on, Jared, during this time?
Well, so there's a lot of different things that I've tried and put my my mind to after football, and it's a lot of it has to do with entertainment. So some of the things that I've been doing in front of the camera, now I'm trying to do those things behind the camera and be a producer and come up with projects. And when you're dealing with projects that you come up with and you produce and you have to handle everything, it's like when you buy a house or something, or you're building a house, you have to come up with what kind of screw you're going to use, what kind of nail you're going to use, what color carpet you're going to have, every detail that takes a little bit of time. And then you think you have one that you want, you put it in there, and it's like, no, So in movies and television and production and producing features, whatever, same thing. Maybe I want to try something a little bit different. That's what it is.
I mean, I think that's what it is. You keep kind of trying different things till you find what fits for you and what works for you. And again, I think this is honestly, that's the journey of life though, right? You see what works for you, what didn't work for you. And then I think also during this pandemic, some of us have had a chance to reinvent ourselves. And I think you're the definition, Jared, of reinventing yourself. So much more than just a football player. I mean, look at what you've gone on to do. It's been incredible and amazing. And you're being modest talking about these projects. You're the owner of Bunch Productions. And you've been in some kind of cool movies, but let's start there. Bunch Time Productions, right? An independent production company currently creating projects for folks like the NFL Network and other media outlets. Let's talk about how you kind of began this and went on to grow it now to today, what it is.
Well, it started off the same as I was saying earlier, with acts as an actor, and because I had to retire here in California when I was playing for the Los Angeles Raiders. It's a mecca for entertainment, and it gave me a opportunity to meet people who are in entertainment. My friends who are here, they are in entertainment, so they made the suggestion that hey, why don't you start auditioning in something? And I auditioned, and then I figured that I had to learn how to audition. Today I still have to learn, because it's something doesn't come easy. But when I moved back to New York, I went to acting school, and for 2 years I was working with a drama workshop, and doing all the things about acting and figuring out, just like a football player learning in little league.
Right.
I started there, and that's how I did the acting on stage and learning, emotions and things against the type that I would usually be cast for,
Right.
and that's what made me a deeper actor, if you want to, and
Yeah.
I wasn't just a football player that decided one day, hey, I'm gonna try this acting.
Yeah, let's just go try this. You weren't
Yeah.
that. You actually
No.
got into it, as you said, and you had to learn to connect with your emotions. And I'm curious on that point, Jarrod, because I feel like a lot in football, right? You're taught to man up, be tough. And maybe when you're showing emotions, it's to motivate your team, but to actually have to play these different roles and maybe dig into some emotions, Jarrod, that you weren't used to sharing with the world. How was that process for you? Was it an easy transition?
Well, it actually, playing football helped the acting, because when you're playing in a game, each play that's called, you are one part of 11, and the other 10 are relying on you to do your job so that this one play can work. And in acting, it's a scene, and everyone in that scene is working to make that scene grow. You have your part that you want to do, and you have to do it. Everybody else is depending on you to do it to make that scene go. And it was just a practice from football and being on the field and learning and having my responsibility and knowing how to take my responsibility, because other people were relying on me doing my part, that helped it. And the fact that I had that background also gave me the knowledge to know that I had to spend a lot of time practicing. Right. And sometimes people don't, sometimes people or players that go into entertainment don't think that way, and they don't have to, because that's one of the things about entertainment. It's not necessarily, period. The best actor does not get the job. Who gets the job is who fits what they need. If they need a star in there, if they need a tall person, they need a big person, they need it's a person that fits what they need. So that's a little bit that's when it comes down to the differences between playing football or professional sport and being an actor, it's not always the best person for it. It's a person that fits it the best.
Right. It's a person that fits that role the best and what they're looking for. And I think, like you said, because in football, a lot, it's like, who's the best player for that job, right? That's how you get your first string, your second string, and so on and so on. But for acting, like you said, they have this picture in mind of who they want. And hopefully you'll fit that if you want that role. But otherwise, you're going to probably be soul searching for something else, right? That's better kind of acclimated for you. And so you're talking about moving to LA and, doing these roles. And you moved back in LA, was it 2002, right? And you've been there ever since, kind of in the California area. Doesn't feel like that long, does it? The time passes.
No, when I think about it, it's 20 years this year, in coming March, 20 years. But I did, I lived out here from 94 and 95 when I was with the Raiders.
Right.
So I knew, I'd been on here for a while, but I didn't think it was a place where I wanted to live when I first, because I'm from Ohio.
Right.
And I'm used to the 4 seasons all the time. and when I came out here, I would say it was a nice place to visit, but I wouldn't want to live here. Now I live here. This is the type of atmosphere and this type of weather that I want to live with all the time. I don't miss the snow at all. I don't miss the cold. I'm good.
I was going to offer you some, Jarrod. We've got a lot here in DC. Just take it from us. We'll take that palm tree weather, Jarrod.
I don't miss any of that cold weather. My mother, who 80 years old, still lives in Ohio. She still loves the cold weather. And
really?
Yeah. Yes,
oh my gosh. Does she still get out and does she do things like shoveling or anything like that? Or no?
My mother still walks every day. She used to walk 3.5 miles every day. Now she's she doesn't walk that long, but she walks for time now. So she walks 40 minutes every day. And
wonderful.
She's a young 80. She's a young
80. 80 is the new 40, Jarrod. No one told you? Mom knows. That's amazing that she's doing that. And, you touched on your time with the Raiders. So I do have to ask you, many people saw that game last night, Jarrod. Just wanted to get your thoughts and comments. Raiders going to the playoffs. Many people excited about that, Jarrod. How do you feel?
Yeah. I mean, that's a great, it's great for us as, one day, as they say, once a Raider, always a Raider. And I do a lot of stuff with the Raiders. We, especially with the new stadium in Vegas, we've been there a few times. I think I was talking about this with guys today. Before the game started, and they knew if they tied that they both would be going to the playoffs. What would I have done if I was a coach? If I went over there and said, "Look here, man."
Like, look, I'm not even the same way, Jarrod. I'm just being honest with you.
I'm like, hey, look here, man. Hey. But I think it as it came down to it, and on that third down,
yeah,
and San Diego called a timeout. I think they messed up.
Yeah.
I really think that, man, but can't second guess it now, but wow.
It's tough. It's a tough world. A lot of tough games, though. Speaking of yesterday, I mean, we had a lot of games, Jarrod, that came down to the wire with teams getting into the playoffs. Like, I think I'm excited. Did you like this extra week of football, Jarrod? Were you a fan of Week 18 football? Because I mean, it just seemed like the gift that keep on giving. And then lo and behold, the Colts had one job to do, Jarrod, and they couldn't do the job. And now they're outside looking at it.
Yeah, you know what? As a fan, you can appreciate it, but as a player, it's a long season. It is a long season.
Yeah.
And a lot of guys that were playing yesterday hadn't played. They put in a lot of, backups and whatnot. Good for them to get in there and get in the game, get acclimated or starting to get a little playing time, get some experience. But that's a long season. 17 weeks is a long season with 16 games, but now 18 weeks with 17 games. It's a long season. And then you go to playoffs.
Yeah. It's a quick turnaround. I mean, like you said, for fans, more football. And, for players, I love how it was on social media that they love it. But like you said, it's just even longer. And football is taxing on your body, right? It's a lot that you're going through. Not everybody can keep their bodies like Tom Brady and play until they're 44, Jarrod, even though we all wish we could. I mean, this is probably why we're going to be soon saying goodbye to Big Ben. After a while, football, it changes you, right? It changes your body, and it's just a different ball game. But I was glad to get your thoughts. And speaking of that, would love to get your thoughts as well on Big Ben. It might be his last hurrah. The Steelers squeeze their way into the playoffs. Overall, what do you think about his career? And will the Steelers, do you think they'll like any noise in the playoffs, Jarrod?
Oh, I think that, Ben Roethlisberger is a stud. I mean, clearly to me, a Hall of Famer, and he's had a great career. And bravo to him just on all of the years that he's been doing what he's been doing. And he's a guy that's a big guy that hasn't always been one who took care of his body, right? Like other people, athletes have. But he's been around for a long time. He's been doing it well for a long time, and kudos to him. I mean, 2 Super Bowls. I don't know how many Pro Bowls. To me, he's a Hall of Famer.
Very accomplished.
Yeah.
Amazing. It feels weird, like the end of an era. It feels weird to say that with Big Ben, but the job that he's done, and Mike Tomlin, and just that Steelers organization, and what we think about great football coming from that organization. Big Ben was a large reason why 18 seasons he's given us. And the AFC North for a long time, it was Baltimore and Pittsburgh that were owning that. Even though we know this year there's a new king in town, Jarrod, with the Cincinnati Bengals, right? All of a sudden coming, and Joe Burrow, they're for real.
They're for real. They're for real. And back in the day, I'm from Ohio, and so back in the day, Cincinnati was good. I mean, it's nice to see them back playing on that top level. They've always, when I was living there in Ohio, they've always been a top tier team with big running backs. They had big running backs, and they had receivers and quarterbacks. They were good. The Browns were good back then too. So now it looks like the Browns are doing okay. They're
better.
They're much
better.
But
Baker, Jarrod, not everybody's a Baker Mayfield fan, if we're being honest.
No, but the question is, do you keep him? Is he the one? Do you see him as your future? And do you want to pay him $40 million? That's the biggest question. I would think anyone would say, if you're going to pay him, average what the average of quarterbacks get paid. Okay. But
Right.
when it goes to 30, $40 million, that's when
You
people
start
are
to
like,
scratch your head, Jarrod.
yeah.
You just do, right? Like you said, because you think
yeah.
about the talented young quarterbacks of the league, and I can think here in the DMV area, Baltimore is going to have a big question as well with Lamar Jackson and how much you're going to.
To me, though, with Lamar, yes, you pay him. The man
Right.
was MVP, and he's still so dynamic. I mean, he's a game changer. Period. So do I question if when it comes to the time, right, do we pay him the top 5 salary or whatever? Yeah, because he has the capabilities to be a game changer anytime he's on the field.
Right.
That's
and
so I say,
Baltimore and Lamar, when he's on the field, this Baltimore team,
it's changed. It's a different team. There's a change, right? And he makes other players better because of his play. I think the quarterback that has been taken over from him since he's been injured, he likes to play like Lamar. I mean,
Tyler Huntley.
Yeah, Huntley plays like Lamar. So I think it comes down to what do you really think that your quarterback is going to do for you?
What can your quarterback do for you? That's the question every NFL fan and Jarrod has to ask themselves. And a lot of quarterbacks in the playoffs, it's because their quarterback is doing a great deal, right? I mean, we're in, some would say, a quarterback type of league now where you need at least solid quarterback play, right? If your team is going to make some noise. And again, you can look at the playoff teams that we have, but excited for the playoffs. Let me see. I didn't want to bring up the sore spot, but since we're talking about football, the Washington football team here just played your New York football Giants, Jarrod. A lot of people talking about the New York Giants and just what to do. We know this season was maybe one that fans just want to soon forget. Some are asking questions, of course, about just the leadership from the top level, talking about Joe Judge and just the play on the football field, though. Many just say subpar. Like, when is the New York Giants? When can we get them back being talked about as a top team? Because this year, the NFC East, we had the Dallas Cowboys maybe being a surprise team for probably everybody but their fans and the way that they've played. And then now we're also talking about the Philadelphia Eagles, Jarrod, making the playoffs as well. So New York Giants, I mean, what would you like to see the Giants do to get back to prominence and glory?
Well, if you think back, it was 2 years ago and 3 years ago before the season, everyone thought the Giants were going to the Super Bowl, and that's why the coach got fired, because they go from everyone thinking this is the year that New York goes back to the Super Bowl, and they finish with 4, 5, 6 wins, and they bring in. The thing is, I love the fact that I love the Giants because they were the team that took me first.
Right. So
I will always have a place for them. What they've done and how they've done things through the past, over the years, the past, it's not like ordinary. I would say ordinary. It's not like other teams do.
Right.
So they do things differently. And because of that, it's New York. New York is a different place.
It's a hard market. It is.
Yeah, it's a different place, and it's a different place. So I don't know what's going to happen, especially with the GM retiring. So they're going to come up. They're going to come in with a new GM. Does that mean that he wants to pick his own coach? And even before that, was Judge on his way out anyway? That's the question. And the question is, he was there for 2 years. The fans really like him. So what do you do? Do you give him another year, or do you make a change right now when you, as the GM, you change the GM? Do you bring a new GM to pick his own coach? What do you do? And today, a lot of people who I mean, you look at Flores in Miami. I didn't think
the question we got. How does Brian Flores get fired before Joe Judge?
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. I don't understand that one. And I would clearly think that Flores would be on safe footing and Judge be on shaky ground. And I don't know, but there are different reasons for people making moves. So we will see.
Time will tell. Time will truly tell. Black Monday can be hard. I think that one got many by surprise, though, especially when you look at the turnaround in the season that the Miami Dolphins had. We know how they started. Then they go on this hot winning streak. Everyone's talking about them. And I think people were like, well, how did he get fired? Do you see some of these teams' records and what they've done? So like you said, it's just, I think that was probably the bigger surprises, maybe not so much the other ones. But I think, like you said, New York is a tough market, not just the New York Giants. If we're being fair, the New York Jets as well. People are also want them to make some changes. But I think people just want, again, the glory days, the heydays to get back. And we want the NFC East to be back competitive, because it was just last season that this was the laughing stock of the league, Jarrod. People were like, I mean, is anybody going to get to the playoffs? And finally, the Washington football team did last year. Then this year, the Dallas Cowboys have taken off. Dak seems like he's back, and we're liking the play that he has. But again, I think the Giants just have many, many questions. And I think everybody, maybe the fans in New York like Joe Judge. I'll tell you, in Washington, some of them took that clown comment a little personal here, Jarrod. So I'd say maybe some in Washington not liking Joe Judge as much for the clown comment that he made. But, hey, to each their own. But again, looking forward to the playoffs. And Jarrod, you're talking a lot about growing up in Ohio. I want to touch more on that, because, you grew up in a small town, right, in Ohio. And you're going to have to help me with the name. Let me say if I say it right. Is it Ashtabula, Ohio? Did I do okay on it?
Close, very close. Ashtabula. Yeah.
So tell me about this small town. You got to tell us more about, how you got your love of football here, what it was like growing up there. We want to know all about your background story.
Ashtabula is exactly a small town. People used to say it's a country town, and I would tell them, no, it's not country, but it is country. You didn't have, you had to go down a few miles before you got to farm. So I said, we were not country. That's the country.
So, that country's down that way. Not us, not yet. No, the pre-country.
As I go back, I said, yes, it is country, and a small town. And actually, it's the same place where the head coach who just got fired from Jacksonville, whatever his name is, he is from Ashtabula also.
Yeah, small world.
Yeah. What is his name?
Urban Meyer.
Urban Meyer. There you go. Yeah. Urban Meyer is from Ashtabula also. So small town that football is not really important there. And but I was the first player to go to a D1 school on full scholarship.
Amazing.
And when I was, actually there was another guy, I think he went, but not to a D1 school or smaller D1 school, but he was like in the 60s. But besides this, I'm the only one to get drafted in the NFL. So
wow.
And in the first round. So, but when I was in 8th grade, my brother was in the 10th grade, and the school won their first game in 5 years. Wow. So each year they were 0-10, 0-10, 0-10, 0-10, 0-10.
Rough.
Yeah. So they were 0-50 something at that point, and they won their first game. So that's the type of program we have. And when I got there, I was the youngest. I lived on a dirt street, dead end street. I was the youngest. I had an older brother, but on the street there was a lot of boys, and I was the youngest of all the boys. So I always had to hang with the older guys. So if I wanted to go play, I had to play with the older guys. They played football, they played baseball, whatever. I was always trying to hang with my older brother and playing with them, and they made me so tough. I was getting crushed by all of these guys that by the time that I played with kids my age, it was not good for them. It was like a cakewalk. I was a taller kid anyway, not the tallest, but I was taller.
Right.
And so when I got to kids my age, it was, I thought
it was
like, yeah, I was like, what? This is it, right? So, and then I started lifting weights competitive. I started lifting weights because I thought I was strong, and again, came up against some people who actually trained, and they showed me what strength was, and I started competing in competitions, and I started winning after that first year of learning that I was not the strong person I thought I was. That gave me so much motivation to train. And, each year I would compete in weightlifting competitions. And when I went to these weightlifting competitions, it would be me going there by myself or me and one other person. And when I got there, it would be entire schools,
Wow.
so they had their football team, their track team, their wrestling team. They all worked together, but it wasn't like that at my high school. It was just me. And so I started winning these things over the years. And when I started winning them, and then would go back to my hometown and work out and trying to get the other guys. But I started getting all the name recognition because when I went to these other places, I started beating everybody.
Wow.
And so that's how I got mine. And so that's how other schools, colleges started coming to Ashtabula to watch, because I was running track. I was winning the 100 and then winning the shot put and winning the pole vault and winning the discus. And, so they're like, who is this big guy? Yeah, who is this big guy coming out here running and then going over there and throwing a shot and then throwing a disc and then pole vaulting? So when I was doing all those things, that's how I got known, is, and then I would win the weightlifting competitions. And then my junior year, I set a world record for 18 and under. I was 17 at the time, 16 at the time. And by doing that really got a lot of attention. And so now schools like, there's a kid in Ashtabula who
you need to go see.
We gotta go see. Yeah, that was
That's amazing. That's amazing. I want to go on to college, but you know how every place kind of has a thing that they're known for. So I'm in Maryland, Jarrod, in the DMV area. So I'm in DC actually, but like Maryland is known for crab cakes. When I think about Ohio, I hear a lot of people talk about Ohio, and sometimes Jarrod, people are like, oh, what do you go to Ohio for? So I want Jarrod Bunch right now on the record to tell us, Ohio, why do we need to go? I think we need to change the narrative around Ohio, Jarrod, and get more people excited about it.
I haven't lived in Ohio
in a long time. You're California
since
now.
1986. So
all right, we're gonna find it out together, Jarrod. I will ask Mom.
I can't give you anything. I can't give my mother loves, she loves the like we talked about a little bit before, she loves the 4 seasons.
Okay.
That being able to have summer, fall, winter, spring.
A mix of everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. We'll take that, Jarrod. Ohio, all the seasons, folks. So look, a great place to go. But
I do. Wait. Ashtabula, though. Ashtabula does have, because they're right on Lake Erie, they have, they're known for the Underground Railroad.
There you go. Very important. Very, very important. So there you go. There you go. I think that's huge. That's huge. I just do that on record, because again, I think people sometimes hear Ohio and are fully sure, like, why the draw is. And even when we talk about players, if we're being quite frank, sometimes players really do look at where they're going to be playing, what there is to do, and kind of the other things surrounding the football team. So I wanted to put that out there on record, Jarrod. So thank you for helping me figure that out for the fans. But we pull you from Ohio, then we pull you into University of Michigan, right? And so you're playing at the University of Michigan. I want to talk about your 5 years there and kind of your emergence and evolving with this University of Michigan football team, and really how that made you, I'd say, a better, stronger player. Because then, of course, we know you went on to get drafted in the NFL. But at Michigan, you were doing some things, right? A team captain. I mean, you guys Big Ten champions. Like, you guys were doing some stuff.
Big Ten champions 4 years. 4 of the 5 years I was there. My freshman year, when after graduation from Ashtabula, that recruiting class was voted number 1 in the nation. So we had Mr. Michigan, Mr. California, Mr. Louisiana, we had all these guys. And I went in as a running back.
Right.
And first day before, he called and told me, what's your fullback? So I was like, when back then, when you ran the ball all the time, you didn't want to be a fullback. You wanted to be, be a running back. So I had a little bit of, I was angry that they didn't give me a chance. They didn't even give me a chance to, prove myself, and especially the way I had trained, come all through high school, that I wanted to compete for playing time. And when I got to Michigan, and they had, Leroy Hoare, Tony Bowles, Allen Jefferson, Tracy Williams,
Right.
all these guys were they were big time All-Americans, and I wasn't. So I wanted to compete against them, but they didn't give me a chance to play running back. But the running back coach said, "Listen, a good running back, especially we still had Jamie Morris, who was at the time ended up being the leading career leading rusher at Michigan. So he was going to be the starter anyway.
Right.
So he said, "Listen, there's two senior fullbacks on the team, Gerald White and Bob Perriman, and they will be leaving. There's no fullbacks except you. So a good running back comes a dime a dozen, but a good fullback is very hard to find that can do everything. If you learn how you do everything, you're going to be a big commodity." So I took that and it's like, okay, yeah.
I'll do it, right?
Yeah, and it ended up back then we ran the ball a lot anyway. Fullback ran the ball a lot, and I was starter my redshirt freshman year. It was a starter for 4 years, but I got hurt a couple of times, and then Leroy and I we split time. So it ended up, it made a lot of sense. And then Leroy left his fourth year, and then the fifth year I had it all by myself, and that's when they saw, hey, this guy is more than just a blocker.
Right.
When Leroy was there, when we blocked all the time, it had me in. When they wanted to run the fullback, they put Leroy in. And then the senior year, they found out, oh, this guy not only can block, he can run. I averaged 5 yards a carry. Yeah. Averaged 5 yards a carry, and that's why I won the first round.
Well, I love that. Look, and that's why I went in the first round, because I got to prove my dynamicness on the football field. We're going to take a quick question from the fans that I want to throw it your way from Jamel Cutler. Did you ever have any interactions with the Fab Five while at Michigan?
Not because I graduated before they got there. So
Michigan was still the cool school.
Yeah, but I did go back. Let me see. The year that they got there was the year that I left. But I still know him, like Chris Webber, because he would come up, during this recruiting trip. I remember the couple of guys that came up, and we all were trying to recruit them, get them to go there. But while I was there, we did win the the NCAA tournament. So we won the same year we won the Rose Bowl. Michigan also won the NCAA basketball tournament.
Right. Look at that. So see, look, Michigan was still a cool school when you were there. What about Michigan? What about Desmond Howard? Right.
Desmond, I was Desmond's host for his recruiting when he came up there recruiting from, since he's from Ohio. So when he came up, we were there for, I think Desmond came in my sophomore, junior year and played as a freshman. He also played as a freshman. Very dynamic player. I mean, he won the Heisman, but we didn't know that he was going to win the Heisman. But when we didn't
know he was Heisman good.
But when he came in as a freshman, you could see that he had he was dynamic. Period. He was dynamic.
Right. He had what it took. That's amazing to see. And also, I think this is such a good question from Joseph Lee. While you were at Michigan, you talked about coming from Ohio, you go to Michigan. Was racism ever an issue for you?
Oh, yeah. Here's the thing. When I was there, I'm sure it wasn't the first time it came up, but we had a big rally because at that time there was less than 5%, less than 3% of minorities on campus, and there was a problem and we had Reverend Jesse Jackson came and talked to us, and we were trying to recruit, trying to get more people of color. We were trying to get them to recruit more academic people of color. It got ugly for a little bit because people were fighting back that Michigan should not have color as a part of their admittance. as they were trying to get more people of color. The people who the Caucasian were like, no, you're taking away from us to let them in, and it became it got ugly for a while. It was ugly for a little bit.
And I appreciate you touching on that, because even to go like a layer deeper into that, sometimes I'm talking to guys who went to schools much like you're talking about, predominantly white, but they say to me, Kelsey, hey, since I was an athlete, I saw it and I felt it, but it was a bit different. I just wanted to know if that was kind of your experience as well, because you were a student athlete at Michigan. Do you think your experience was different probably than some of the other African-American students at the school?
100% it was different. If they saw, remember this is in the 80s, and it was like, if you saw somebody of color, you automatically assumed they were athlete, period. And if they weren't, it was like, what? So it was like the only ones on there of color, they played a sport. That's what people thought.
Right, when they saw you.
When they saw it, period. That's all they thought. That's all they
like
thought.
He or she has to be here for a reason, and most likely it's because they play a sport.
Right. Yep.
Wow. Well, I appreciate you touching on that. And like you said, it was the 80s, it was Michigan. And the sad thing I'd say is, though, unfortunately, some of these same issues we're still seeing even today. We're still seeing these affirmative action issues come up, and people saying race shouldn't be a factor. So it just kind of tells you, even though time moves, sometimes some of these same things don't move. And it's kind of the unfortunate side, or the ugly side, I'd say, of some of the things that we're facing currently right now in the country. And that's probably one of them, Jarrod. And, we're talking about Michigan. You're talking about the success that you had there. We know you had Coach Bo, but I think more recently, something even bigger that you came out about when we're talking about the University of Michigan and the football program. And I think this is something, unfortunately, now that we're hearing more cases of, but I also see the strength that it takes for people and the courage, Jarrod, that it takes for people to come out. Last year, you talked about the team doctor, and you're talking about over 30 years ago now, who molested you. And as we know, some other players have also come out. So for one, I just want to ask you, like the courage first, Jarrod, to even finally have the strength to talk about something, which I'm sure, might bring different emotions back for you, something that I know you've probably had to deal with for a while. Like, what was that like for you? And now that you have come out and talked about it, I mean, how do you hope this will hopefully impact the new generation of athletes to hopefully talk out about any wrongs that are happening anywhere on campus or in the world or anything like that?
It is a, I want to say difficult, but it is a complicated. I don't know how it will continue to be discussed, because it's hard to define.
Right.
I mean, here's something that 30 some years ago that not only I went through, but what I thought at the time is every player on the team was going through. I thought I was getting the same thing. The physical was the physical. I mean, we talked about, guys, upperclassmen would tell you about, okay, you're ready for you know what's coming. I mean, it was like a joke. It was like something that everyone knew. It was discussed. It was joked about. It was out in the open. And it was about, listen, you just take it. That's what's going to happen. And, move on. Because, we did it. We had to go through it. Just do it. That's what it is. And you, if I knew, see, coming from the small town and having a physical that, okay, I think that's what the physical is. That's what it does. That's what it is. So now when I come to this big university with all this big time, I think, all these big time doctors, this is what they're going to do. This is how it's supposed to be done. This is the real way. Is how it's supposed to be done. And everyone's talking about what's going to happen before it happens. To me, I didn't know anything. And when I first realized what it was is when I got to the pros and had a physical. And I was like, that's it?
Right.
And so now I'm thinking they don't care. They don't care what's wrong with you. They're not trying to find anything wrong with you. They're just trying to get you through. And I was saying to myself, physical is nothing. It's just, just so they can write it down and say that they did. So I'm thinking they're not doing their job, but what was going on in Michigan was molestation. It was unnecessary molestation.
Right.
And so I'm like, but the damage was done because it started right from freshman, and it didn't stop there. It was from freshman all the way through for 5 years. So it's always the same thing. It was always the same thing. And what was happening was the upperclassmen, the new people like myself, I became the older guys, so everyone who told me what to expect. And then as I go through it, I tell everybody else who's coming in what to expect. And the cycle just keeps going.
Right. Because like what you're saying, it sounds like, is like you said, it becomes a cycle. And then in your minds, when it happens to you from freshman year and you're hearing other guys say, well, that's just what happens, you begin to kind of normalize it, right? And even though you didn't know till later that wasn't normal in your mind, like this is just something that you had to go through. And until you got to the professional level and you saw the difference in the team doctors there, you realize, wait, that's not what I had in college. And then putting 2 and 2 together, right, Jarrod, you realize that something was wrong.
Yeah, but even when I got to the pros, it wasn't like I was talking to anybody. I was just saying to me,
right?
And then I looked at it as they were not doing their job. Because they were just trying to make sure that I could pass the physical. I thought they were just trying to pass me the physical. If we don't search, ain't nothing wrong with you. That's what I thought their angle was. So as I went through that, I thought So my mistrust for doctors continued because now I think they don't give a damn about me.
Right.
They ain't doing nothing. All they doing is like, okay. I'm like, what? Man, they don't care about me.
Because of that experience. And, when you talk about that now, Jarrod, I'm curious today, do you think you still have some of this mistrust of doctors? Like you still not thinking they have your best interest at heart?
Yeah. Well, there's residual, but until I didn't tell my wife, and my wife, we've been married for 23 years, and she didn't hear anything about this until 2 years ago. And as she's talking to me, she's like, that ain't right. That right there, you don't need that.
Right.
Not at 17, 18, 19, 20. That's not.
Yeah. You were young. You were a young person still trying to figure out, life and career and all this stuff. And then this is happening to you. And it's like you said, until most recently, you were able to talk to your wife about it. And she was able to tell you too, like what happened, that just wasn't right. Because I think sometimes, Jarrod, what can happen in a lot of situations is that when you're not fully understanding it, either you think that's just supposed to be how it is, or maybe you even start to blame yourself. But I think you coming out and sharing this also, I think sometimes it just takes the 1 or 2 people to also inspire others to speak out about things. Because sometimes too, when you're holding stuff in for so long, as we were kind of talking about, it can impact other facets of your life, right? Because you're holding on to something for so long and your body's like trying to fight it, but you won't, it's a lot. It's a heavy burden to carry. And even also coming out though is not the easiest thing because, it's hard to be vulnerable and you're letting people into something sensitive.
Yeah. Well, to me, I just see it as just reporting the truth. That's it. So it's like, I look at it like, that's what was going on.
Right.
Yeah,
you're speaking your truth.
But really, what really made me angry is when I saw the report of what the doctor had been doing before he moved over to the athletic department, and he was supposedly fired for what he was doing, and instead of being gone from University of Michigan, he goes from University of Michigan students body to the athletic department.
Yeah. So there was a history there. And like you said, instead of just moving the problem, they moved it somewhere else. And then
they moved into the athletes. And it was there from 1971. That's how long he had been there. And I was there from 86 to 90, 91, 86 to 90. And I'm like, knowing what they knew, all of these people that, like me, was not necessary. It was not necessary.
Yeah,
but
could have been ended earlier.
Yeah, it could have been stopped. I mean, there's countless of people that had unnecessary dealings with this guy every year, and that's what really makes me angry is that they knew about it.
Right.
They knew who he was. They knew. When I say they knew about it, they knew who he was because he reported it. He was reported by people in 1970.
Right.
Not 1990, not 2000. He was reported in 1970.
Earlier.
Yeah.
Wow.
So,
well, again, I mean, it's just the most terrible, unfortunate situation. And like you said, especially when somebody knows something is wrong, it's like you just wish people would act. And unfortunately, when you do that, then you create more victims because you just pushed it aside and kind of left a blind eye to it. Unfortunately, I think in sports, even we see people turn a blind eye to stuff like this. I mean, I think about the Penn State situation because people in sports really just care about winning sometimes, Jarrod. Yeah. And that's kind of the thing that's focused on, not the other kind of part.
Yeah. As bad as the Penn State thing is, as bad as, there's been a situation in Penn State, situation in Ohio State, situation in UCLA, USC.
Right.
I think this is worse because this man did it, was found out he was doing it, and instead of the school making sure that he was gone, period, they moved him from one department to the athletic department.
Like it's athletics problem now. Yeah. They'll handle it.
No, yeah. So now that's what really angers me is that, and in these other ones, with no one, once they got caught, they got caught. This guy gets caught and then gets moved, not put out. He gets moved.
Right. And it's like, what did you expect to happen? If someone is kind of, quote, getting away with something, Jarrod, right? They're not getting fired for it. Instead, they're just getting moved around. And it's hard to even expect somebody to stop doing what they're doing because there's no consequence. And for a long time, there was no consequences. And so, again, I mean, it's just horrible, horrible, horrible to see. This is a great comment. We heard hearing about it in the U.S. Olympic team doctor. Like, it's sad that this cycle, unfortunately, has continued. And this is the stuff that we know about, folks. Like, there might be even more. And I'm sure there's more that we're not hearing about yet. But I think this is why we have to hopefully change this culture. When you see something, say something. When you say something, make sure you follow up and make sure that something is done about it. Because like you said, these reports were there. Nothing happened. And I think, you want that pressure to be on the schools or wherever this is happening. So these type of people won't be anywhere near young people, children, or honestly, just anybody, any part of society that they don't need to be near. But Jarrod, I appreciate you touching on that. Again, I know how hard it can be to talk about things like that. And again, to be vulnerable. I think when you open up, I think, again, it can inspire hopefully somebody else if something has happened wrong to them, that one, it's okay to speak up and speak out. And then two, you never know who you're going to help. And hopefully still we have more action that's taken. So Jarrod, again, appreciate you touching on that. But, you came out of that obviously at Michigan, played at Michigan, then you go on to play on the top level in the NFL. Let's go to 1991, first round draft choice of the then Super Bowl champion New York Giants. You get selected as the 27th pick. I just want to go back to Jarrod, what that moment is like, playing football, in college, like you said, and kind of having a role and kind of even getting more a chance to shine right towards the end of your college football career to now being picked in the first round of the NFL draft, right? Like that's a dream. That's a dream. And obviously, like you said, it means you're playing top football.
Yeah, it was a dream. It was exciting day. Yeah. I mean, we talk about it when I go and talk to high schools and colleges and whatnot, and they talk about, you can go from worrying about how you're going to put some money together to buy a pizza at school to the next day being able to buy the whole pizza shop and own your own shop.
Right,
And so,
right.
it's like that. It's your life changes in
Yeah,
one pick with one pick, and it's something that I was working for many years, and at some point I thought it never would happen, or I thought something would happen to stop it or make it not become a reality.
right.
But when they called my name, that was one of the most exciting to this point in my life. Most exciting
Amazing.
point in my life. I mean, when you're sitting there, and at that time, it was the longest first round because they were taking every minute for each pick, and
Right.
the New York Giants had the last pick in the first round, and there was about three teams that I thought was going to draft me, and they picked somebody else. And the phone didn't ring, and the commissioner had the pick. He said that with the Giants are making they made a quick choice, and their card was coming already up, and I'm like, man, well, who is picking first in the second round because they didn't call. and and as we're sitting there, and then he says, and with the 27th pick, the New York Giants select Jarrod Bunch, running back, University of Michigan, and it was like,
Wow.
oh, it was, yeah.
An incredible feeling.
I get, I still feel, feel
I
it
can
right
see
now.
it. I still see the
Yeah,
excitement and joy. We go from a small town in Ohio, then we go on
right.
playing at Michigan to now being a first round pick in the National Football League, the
Yeah,
top level of football. Truly nothing like it. And I think that's just a testament to young people out there, anybody out there, that you
yeah,
can achieve your dream. You are a living, breathing testament to that. And like you said, I mean, getting nothing like hearing that name called, knowing that a team wants you to play for them, put on that jersey, and then not a small team either at that, Jarrod. All right, we're going to New York. We're doing big things with that pick. Let's talk about doing big things. Then let's go to 92. You get selected as the Giants Offensive Player of the Year.
yeah. It was, the first year was rough as a rookie. That switch, and as at that time the fullback was used, and the Giants was one of the teams that still was using it, but they used him as a blocker in the backfield, as a lineman in the backfield. So we had
Right.
Maurice Carthon, who was very good, and he did his job. So they didn't use me much as the fullback in my rookie year, and then second year I was the starter, and what happened was the first game, I told him, if I get a chance to get the ball, I'm going to do something with it. And so the first game, I busted a 30-yard run, and they hadn't seen a fullback do
You
that.
stay true to your word,
Yeah,
Jarrod. You're like, look, I
yeah.
told
So
y'all.
yeah. So what had happened was, now I had a high per carry average, because I had this big run in the first game. So come fifth, sixth game of the season, they're like, you still got this high average, but it ain't gonna last long. And I was like, watch. Watch. And so it ended up, at the end of the year, I was averaging 5 yards a carry,
Yeah.
4.8 yards a carry, and that was second in the league, just for all, not just fullbacks, for all running backs with over 100 carries. So that's what did it, man.
You did something. All right. We got a
Yeah,
quick
yeah.
question from James. Jarrod, did you play with Tyrone Wheatley?
No, Tyrone is a few years younger than me. I had graduated before Tyrone got there, but I do know Tyrone. Actually talked to him not too long ago. He's now head coaching near somewhere in DC, near Washington, near Virginia, somewhere.
Okay, look at that. Right in our
Yeah,
neck of the woods. And I
yeah.
know.
One of those historically black colleges, HBCs. I forgot.
Oh, I
Which
love
one
that
it is.
even more. HBCUs. And speaking of HBCUs, Jarrod, would love to get your thoughts really quickly on the job that Deion Sanders has done at Jackson State University. And now we're seeing these top picks going to JSU. Jarrod, what have you thought
He's
about that?
doing a great job, and like he said, he's been doing that for a while. He's been coaching with his son for years, and now when people say, "Oh, where you came out of nowhere," no, he's been coaching. He's been teaching, coaching, and teaching for a long time, and now going to Jackson State, he's doing his job. He's getting a lot of recruits that are making the switch to come there, and it's good for the program and it's good for HBCUs. Period.
Yeah, I agree.
I'll let them know. Look, even I forgot another guy, Heisman Trophy winner. He got a head coaching job there, and he wasn't even looking for one. Eddie George,
right, at Tennessee State, right? So I think what you're talking about, it's a huge emergence. And on that, I'm curious. Did any HBCUs ever recruit you, Jarrod?
Yes, Grambling and some other, but my goal was to go to a Big Ten school. I because in Ashtabula nobody had done it.
Right.
I was saying, but some people had gone to smaller schools, and I was like, no, I'm going to Big Ten. I'm going to a Big Ten school.
You had your eyes on the prize. You knew what you wanted, and it was a Big Ten school. I was just curious to hear on that. And I know I have to let you go soon, but you play football, you go on to retire. Something I love that you and your wife did. You guys created Imtaj Beauty, an all-natural organic beauty brand, right? And then if that wasn't enough, we talked about your acting career. And I think, again, you were very modest, folks, because let me tell you some of his film and television credits, all right? CSI Miami, Rosario Isles, Entourage, Don King, Only in America, Django Unchained. Like, I mean, these are not small things. These are things that people who are career actors, Jarrod, will love to have in the credits. So, I mean, I really quickly want to touch with you on like that pivot. You kind of touched on it, but sometimes I know that's the hardest thing for the retired guys or former players I have on the show is kind of that pivot from football and realizing, football has ended now, but what's next? And knowing that football is not the end of the career. So let's just talk about some of the success that you've had on a business realm. And Jarrod, I didn't even mention yet coaching that Beverly Hills football team as well. So I mean, how are you able to juggle all this? And I just kind of keep inventing and reinventing Jarrod Bunch.
One of the things is that you can't juggle all of them. You have to pick one. And so that's what has happened is I've been moving from one to the other. And I tell people it's because I'm trying to get something done or trying to reach a certain level. And if I don't see the path to it, I move to something else, right. And that's not always good because maybe it's the right thing to do sometimes, but maybe if I would have just stayed with it, but I'm one of those, I'm too impatient. It's taking too long. I'm out.
I'm the same way, Jarrod, so don't feel bad. Look, I got a time frame. Things need to start happening. It's not the worst thing.
Got a time frame. That's it, But as I'm getting older, I'm figuring out that I gotta, because the entertainment business is something you can't rush.
Right.
People have spent a lot of time, and I can't rush it. And the coaching, I had to resign from Beverly Hills High School because it was just taking up too much time, and then when COVID hit, I could not. It doesn't pay. It's a volunteer. It's a volunteering job,
right.
and it was taking too much time away from being able to do something to make some money. I stopped acting because of it. And so that was a big, but I was still doing commercials, but I wasn't doing television and movie stuff. So I'm trying to get back into that. And I'm trying to, create projects for not only myself, but other people that, I can do that for a long, 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 long time.
Right. And that's kind of the back end of things. People always see us on the front of camera, but really a lot of the money and longevity is behind the scenes, as you're touching on. And, when you say Beverly Hills High School coaching, it makes me think of one of my favorite shows, All American. You just got that into my mind, Jarrod. But again, you've just been able to do so much. I'm just so proud of the success that you and your wife have accomplished. Can't wait to check out the beauty brand. But also, before I let you go, there's a big championship game tonight. Now, I know Michigan is not in it. I know you probably would have wished Michigan was in it, but two things I want to get to you real quickly. Just talking about the job that Jim Harbaugh has done at Michigan and what you've thought about that. And then who do you have winning the big game tonight? I couldn't let you go without giving me your answer.
Well, first of all, Jim was a teammate of mine at Michigan. So
yes.
have a connection. I think I've always thought he's done a great job there with what he has. Ohio State has been in the top 5 of recruiting every year. So, I mean, when you have the recruits that they have, it's hard to beat. I mean, Michigan, we have who we have, and they have who they have, and you got to play as hard as you can. That's it. But I think he's doing a really good job. If he decides to go back to the pros, I'm, good for him.
That is the question now. Can we get him back in the pros? Mm-hmm.
He's a great coach. He knows what he's doing. He knows how to do it. So, I mean, I would not be angry with him. Look, everybody has to do their own thing. That's it.
Right.
Michigan is Michigan, and Michigan will be fine. And, that's one of the problems that I do see that I came away from Michigan is, thinking that Michigan was this, Michigan is a school, just like any other school.
Right.
And when you go to that school, you have affinity for that school. But sometimes I think as an alumni, we start taking it a little bit too far. And
yeah, college football fans can be a bit much sometimes, Jarrod, if we're just being honest. But lots of money now too in college coaching, right? Like, I think that's the big thing now. You're seeing some of these big college coaching contracts. And that's actually an interesting question that I think you got, Jarrod. They want to know, would you ever coach in college? Yes,
I would. If everything was fit, everything was right, I would. I coached, did a coaching fellowship with the Rams last year.
Okay.
So, and I still coaching. I really enjoy coaching. I really enjoy it. It's just that it's a time-consuming thing, and I have to receive compensation for it that I can justify all the time that I'm putting in it.
That goes into it. It makes sense. I mean, look, a lot of your time goes in it. You want the money, hopefully, to be reflective of all the time.
It's not only want, I need.
Like, especially all the money that college athletics is making too. Look, you can share a piece of that pie. Jarrod, it's been so much fun. But give me your final prediction. Who wins the big game tonight? Who's going to be our next champions?
Oh, I think I'm going to go with Georgia.
Okay.
I'll go with Georgia.
Not believing in the roll tide. We've got a Georgia pick. What about a final score prediction, Jarrod?
Yeah.
Is it going to be a blowout or you think a close game?
No, close game, really good game. I think it comes down to last possession, and I believe Georgia.
All right. It looks like we've got a pick for Georgia. Matter of fact, in the comments, folks, put who you have winning tonight's big championship game. Give them a final score, and a special thanks to Jarrod Bunch for helping me kick off the show. Jarrod, I decided to wear my sequins. We're still in the new year, 2022. You got the gold in your shirt. So see, we match kind of without even trying to plan, but it's been so phenomenal to have you on. I so appreciate you coming on the show. Before I let you go, is there anything that you want to plug to the listeners where they can follow you, where they can follow the beauty brand, or anything else that you have coming up?
No, listen, you can follow me on Instagram at Jarrod Bunch for real. Facebook is Jarrod Ray Bunch. I don't know. I don't follow it. I don't, I should know all of these things.
Okay, you're chilling. We'll follow you. All right. Let us come.
You can go to my website, Jarrod Bunch. There you go. That's it. Right? But I should. Twitter is Jarrod Bunch. All my name. There you go.
All right. We've got a pick Buffalo in the house tuning in. Thanks so much, David, for joining us on the show. And again, Jarrod Bunch, thank you so much for joining me right here on Listening with KNN. A special thanks to all of you all. Look at the Happy New Year's. I appreciate it. Appreciate all the comments. Appreciate you all tuning in. We'll be back this Thursday at 6 p.m. Eastern time. Former football player Ken Harvey will be joining me on the show. We're going to talk about the Washington football team and what's next, and of course the playoffs and what we see happening in the National Football League. So hope to see you all again Thursday. A special thanks to all of you. Also a shout out to my brand new interns that I'm welcoming in. A special thanks to have you all, and a special thank you to all of my great interns that have since transitioned out. I know you guys will do amazing things, and of course my interns continuing on. So I wanted to give them a shout out. But again, Jarrod, thank you so much for joining me. Once again, congrats to the new college football Hall of Fame class, and Jarrod will definitely be keeping in contact. Really enjoyed you folks. So now let's get ready for football. We've got a big game tonight, folks. Again, put in the comments who you have winning. Thanks again, Jarrod. Have a great one. Stay safe and enjoy that Beverly Hills weather. We'll be jealous from DC.
Okay.
See you later. All right, folks, have a great one again. Thanks so much for tuning in. Could not do it without you all. Don't forget, this Thursday we'll be back live stream, and also we'll be dropping brand new audio shows this week. You guys don't want to miss. Have an amazing slate of guests lined up for January 2022. You guys know we had to go out with a bang, or really begin with a bang, I should say, and also check out our brand new website, listeninwithknn.com. All great content there, and you can catch all the shows there. Have a great one. Bye, guys.
Follow Kelsey media at The Real K Nelson. Catch episodes of Listen In with KNN on YouTube, on air at AM 1340 and 96.9 FM Fox Sports Radio, on Facebook and Twitter, and online at KelseyNicoleNelson.com. Thank you for watching this live stream broadcast of Listen In with KNN.
Listen In with KNN on Fox Sports Radio now offers official Kelsey Nicole Nelson apparel in a variety of styles for men and women. Fashionable shirts, leggings, hats, jackets, and more. Order now and get 15% off and free shipping. Just enter promo code KNN. Get your Listen In with KNN wearables today. And check out Listen In with KNN on Fox Sports Radio with Kelsey Nicole Nelson.
You used to hear me on your airwaves or hear me on my hit podcast, but now I'm taking you to the screen. You'll love Elevator Thoughts. We will talk the latest trending in sports. It's game time. What better way to get to know those that visit the show than over some good food and drink? It's time for confessions.
Follow Kelsey media at The Real K Nelson. Catch episodes of Listen In with KNN on YouTube, on air at AM 1340 and 96.9 FM Fox Sports Radio, on Facebook and Twitter, and online at KelseyNicoleNelson.com. Thank you for watching this live stream broadcast of Listen In with KNN.